All right, so we're back in the saddle here, leaving the flag stop at 61.4 behind. So one of the interesting things you'll see here is you'll see the grade is very, very well traveled, and you can see that some of the brush, some of the alders and things like that have been pushed back. I think for a bunch of years, people used to use this section of grade. So there's no access road from the other side of Hogarth Station, which is around Milepost 106, all the way to where we're going to end our hike today, just on the other side of Milepost 115. So I think what people were doing is they were using this as kind of an access road to cut across from the highway, the Trans-Canada Highway, Highway 11, just south of Orient Bay, to cut across to Cameron Falls. And I've actually had people drive past me in their vehicles. So here you can see the brush is all pushed back. You can see here that the grade is very well traveled. You know, there's no ballast issues on this section. Now, unfortunately, I don't think that's happening as much. And we saw that on our previous hike, that just the other side of Hogarth Station, like literally on the other side of the siding, there's a pretty big deterioration of the grade. I don't even know if you want to call it a washout. Just basically the grade is crumbling, and you can't go by it anymore. There's a grouse up on the grade. We saw a whole bunch of grouse today. And there's Luna. She's just having a field day, running around chasing the grouse. There she goes. Actually, very fitting, because right where she went, oh look, there's some blue sky. Hopefully it doesn't get too clear, because we're running south at times here, and that might screw up our video. Right where this grouse was, you can see that we actually have a telegraph pole, or what's left of a telegraph pole. You can see part of the pole and some of the cross beams. You can see some Dominion 42 insulators on here. There's a bunch of broken ones as well. So anyway, long story short, this is a very well traveled section of grade. Got another culvert coming up here. Yeah, there's a little patch of blue, but there's still lots of cloud. Hopefully the sun doesn't pop out, because that's gonna mess with us a little bit. So here's this culvert. Oh, there's a pole down there too. Maybe I saw this last year, and then I grabbed the pole. I looked at the pole, and then there was nothing on it. So there's the culvert. So 111.25. So there's a pole here, but I don't think there's anything attached to it. And there had to be something on this, because it wouldn't just be randomly here. So I don't know if this was some sort of flanger sign, or it was a mile. I don't know if it's a milepost. It was a milepost marker. Because again, we're kind of a ways away. Like 111 is obviously a quarter of a mile that way, and 112 is 3/4 of a mile that way. So not sure what the purpose of the pole was. Oh man, this is really going to screw us up with the sun popping out. Okay, let's zip you ahead a little bit here. So just enjoy the leafless trees. So here you can see more examples of how the brush was pushed back or cut back. When I was through here in 2020, the alders were really kind of encroaching over the grade. And I'm guessing if people were driving their vehicles through here, I'm sure they didn't like it scratching up their paint. And again, I don't know what the reason was for that failure on the other side of Hogarth, but certainly all that vehicular traffic going over kind of, I guess, a weak spot didn't help. I'll post a link to that washout. You can go have a look at it. here, very rare thing. So we actually have a tie that's still in place. I was staring at my GPS going, what is coming up? It's hard to see exact details sometimes. So kind of a neat thing here as well. So there were two lines that paralleled this grade. So on the north side, you had a power line, a telegraph line, and then power line. So you can actually see a remains of one of the power line poles. You can always tell those ones, again, because it's on the south side of the grade, but they would always clad the bottom in metal. And so you can see part of the rusting metal on the bottom part of that pole. Luna likes this grade as well too. It's easier on her paws. It's not as taxing as the spots with all the ballast. Okay, so we have our next little stop coming up here. So you can see we're up on the very, very high embankment. And down there, you can hear it. You can hear water running. So obviously we have a culvert. So a couple of things before we go down and take a look at this. This area, basically going back to just the other side of Hogarth and working our way all the way down closer to Nipigon, was an area that eventually started to become sort of problematic for CN. Luna, come here. Come here. So this was an area that started becoming kind of problematic for CN, essentially because of the fact of the way that it was constructed. There were so many embankments, and a lot of these embankments were simply done with gravel, and they were situated on kind of very challenging soils, a lot of clay soils, because we're in kind of a bit of a floodplain here. That used to be part of the floodplain and emptied from Lake Nipigon. And so there was a lot of problems with stability of the grade, and you can kind of see some of that here, where you can see a lot of erosion that kind of happened. And I certainly have to say a big shout out and thank you to Gordon. Gordon worked for many years for CN and was basically one of the guys that was responsible for this section, very knowledgeable about this, and certainly very knowledgeable about the construction of the grade and things like that. So we're going to drop down and have a look here. So we've made our way down here on the possibly east side of the grade. And basically you can see the grade up there. We're good, probably 25 feet down. You can see this small little creek flowing. And so what we have here is kind of a very interesting setup. Haven't really seen very many of these on the line. There's maybe a couple instances of them. So what you can see is an older style concrete culvert. You can see its age by the amount of moss that's growing on the top. Quite a bit of deterioration with it. So what they did was they inserted a metal culvert, and then to reinforce it, you can see what looks like all of these little pillow-shaped things stacked around them. What they did was they filled sandbags full of concrete and basically stacked them inside there. And eventually what's happened is the burlap on the sandbags, you can see some of it still here, has deteriorated, and it's basically left the concrete. You can see some of them still have the burlap on them, but you can basically see the pattern on the concrete. It looks really, really neat. We've actually seen this, I've actually seen this done in Europe at the Canadian National Vimy Memorial, where they actually preserved old trenches doing the same technique, basically filling sandbags with cement and stacking them. Essentially, it's not necessarily solved the problem, because as you can see, there is still water that's flowing underneath the culvert. And as you're going to see when we go down on the other side, you're going to see that problem become sort of exacerbated downstream. Okay, so let's go hop the grade and go take a look at the other side. All right, so we've made our way down here on the south side of the grade, and so you can see the southern downstream opening of the culvert. Again, you can see the metal culvert that's been inserted inside the culvert. You can see there's quite a bit of water that's flowing through. We had some rain yesterday, as I mentioned, and I don't know if that's all from yesterday's rain, but certainly there's a lot of flow. If we make our way over here, all right, so you can see the close-up of the culvert over here, and you can see one of the reasons why the metal culvert was inserted, but it looks like it too has failed. You can see there's quite a bit of erosion that's happening in this location. And so here you can actually see a displacement between the concrete culvert sections. You can see where they've inserted the sandbags stuffed with cement inside there. You can see that there was an attempt, if I jump here carefully, there was an attempt to reinforce the opening, well, with sheets of metal. So you can see all of these look like big concrete pillows here. And so the problem is now is that the water, I don't know if that's flowing through a rupture. It doesn't look like the culvert's ruptured. What it might be doing is it might be actually flowing in between the two culverts and then coming out over here, because that metal culvert looks like it's intact. All right, so what we're gonna do is we'll head back up on the grade and continue kind of plugging our way to the south.